Director, Vice Rector, dear Mr. Muhibic, distinguished guests, dear academic and administrative staff, dear students and ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Info Session on Erasmus Plus program titled Possibilities in the Area of Higher Education here at IUS. Today we're particularly glad to have the opportunity of welcoming a very important guest. He is the head of the National Erasmus Plus office in Bosnia and Herzegovina, Mr. Suad Muhibic. But before we begin, I can ask our audience just to greet our guest with one great applause. Mr. Muhibic, thank you very much for your time you have spared to be with us here today, and the presence remains, so we truly appreciate it. This session has awakened great interest indeed, because I see today, I'm glad also to welcome the members among our audience, the members of the academic community and students from the International Burj University. Using this opportunity, I thank you all for joining us here at this session. I believe we will all benefit from it eventually. The Erasmus Plus program is the new EU program for education, training, youth and sports. It replaced the 7 existing programs, Lifelong Learning Program, Erasmus, Leonardo da Vinci, Communities and Grundtvig, Youth in Action, Erasmus Mundus, Tempus, Alpha, EduLink, and the cooperation program with the industrialized countries. The current Erasmus Plus program will last for 7 years, from 2014 to 2020. To tell you more about the program itself, I will leave it to our honorable invited guest speaker, but before we begin, I would like to welcome the Vice Rector of the International University of Sarajevo, Assistant Professor Dr. Muhammad Ali, to deliver his welcoming address on behalf of the Rector of the International University of Sarajevo, Professor Dr. Yüceloglu.
Dear distinguished guests, dear Mr. Muhibic, dear academicians, students, friends, IS family, I wish you a very warm welcome to International University of Sarajevo. On behalf of the Rector of IES, Mr. Professor Yüceloglu, I am very proud that today we are hosting today's event, Info Session on Erasmus Plus program entitled Possibilities in the Area of Higher Education. This is certainly a topic that arouses the attention of all of us involved in higher education. Nowadays, the role of universities in the community is extremely complex. Besides pursuing knowledge, creating a stimulating intellectual environment for students, encouraging research activities, there are so many requests to which higher education institutions have to respond. Erasmus Plus program of EU can certainly help the universities to modernize education and training, to increase employability, to better respond to labor market demands. Erasmus Plus has the potential to change and enrich the life of so many young people, and not just them in the member states of the EU and beyond. The key word of this program is mobility. So let's hear more about Erasmus Plus program from our today's lecture. Let's have more info and let's ask questions and have clarifications for the things that we may not understand well. I don't want to take too much of the available time that was allocated for this session. Allow me to thank the organizers of this event. Once again, I thank you all for your presence at this, I believe, beneficial lecture today. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Ali. Ladies and gentlemen, before I call Mr. Muhibic to the stage to start the info session on possibilities in the area of higher education, please allow me just to briefly mention a few of the information about him. So he's a gentleman who has worked for 6 years in the Tempus office, currently the Erasmus Plus office. During that time, he has supervised and worked on campus projects in Bosnia and Herzegovina. He promoted the Erasmus Mundus Call for Proposals project and represented the academic community of the IH in Brussels. He helped the process of internationalization and promotion of the development of higher education in Bosnia and Herzegovina through these projects. Now, these are some of the things. Many other can be said, but unfortunately the time might not be enough to mention all of them. So I'll just invite our invited speaker to the stand to deliver his speech. Mr. Muhibic, please.
Dear Rector, dear Vice Rector, Rectors, dear Professors, dear representatives of our academic community, dear students. It is my great pleasure for being here today with you, and I really want to thank the management of the University, International University of Sarajevo for inviting me here today. It's my great pleasure to be here with you today. It is a great opportunity for all of you with the Erasmus Plus program. As it has already been mentioned, it is, I can say that the most important program, the European Union program in area of education, especially higher education. And I'm really glad that I will be able to share with you the key information about this new program. The total budget of this program is for the 7-year period until 2020. It's over 16 billion euro, and it has a lot of opportunities for students, for staff, for mobility of students, for mobility of staff, and also opportunities for development of higher education institutions, in collaboration with institutions from our country and all other countries throughout the world. So I will now set my presentation, which I'm still waiting for. Okay, it's in my stick, so. Okay. While we're waiting for the presentation to be uploaded and to open, let me just say a couple of words about the background of this Erasmus Plus program. As most of you have already probably heard about Tempus program and the Erasmus Mundus program in the past. Some of you may also have heard about Jean Monnet program and lifelong learning programs. And some various other programs. But the new Erasmus Plus program is basically built upon, okay, the presentation is already over. We can go so just a few very brief words about the program. It covers education, training, youth, and sport. And as you can see that Tempus and Erasmus Mundus are mainly dealing with education and higher education in particular, but we have now new components including youth and sport. But we also have the program provides opportunities for developing projects. The projects are implemented in consortia between higher education institutions from the program countries and also from the partner countries. The main aim is to promote cooperation within the European Union, but also between the European Union and all other institutions throughout the world. Okay, on the left side of the slide, you can see now some names that might sound familiar. Tempus, Erasmus Mundus, all these are alpha, and all these are so-called programs, international programs that support cooperation between European Union institutions and also other institutions from selected countries. For temples, there are 27 countries. And you also had some inter-EU programs which are part of the lifelong learning programs such as Erasmus, Leonardo, Muhibic, etc. So all of these programs are now incorporated into one single joint program called Erasmus+. As you can see, 7 programs are now merged into one program. So the program is much more complex, but it's also much simpler. The new program has 3 main components. Component 1 is about mobility. It's all about mobility of staff, mobility of students, for various purposes I'll explain later, but it's all about encouraging and supporting mobility. So I think most students would be interested primarily in this component. But we have also component 2, and in this component, it's mainly aimed to support cooperation. Projects run by research between the European Union and other institutions from all over the world to cooperate, work together, exchange experience, and build the capacity of the institutions. And also in cooperation with other relevant institutions such as companies, research institutes, and all other relevant institutions. And the third component is policy support. And by this is meant the European Union wants to support development of policy dialogue in various regions in order to encourage voluntary convergence to the EU development, etc. As you can see also, there are some activities which are not part of any of these 3 components, but they are still part of the Erasmus Plus program. And one of them is Germany, and Germany is basically dealing about the EU integration process. I will also explain that particular action in detail later. There is also sport, but our office now will cover, for the time being, we will cover mainly higher education. So we are not now covering other areas. Another important element of the new program is the enlargement. Like Tempus program, for instance, involved 54 countries in total, all 28 EU countries plus 27 non-EU countries, or 28. Now, the new program, Erasmus Plus, is open for the whole world, but not for all activities. On the left side, we have 2 categories of countries, and it's very important from the beginning for you to really know, because in all my presentations later on, I will be referring to the program countries or partner countries. Program countries are basically all EU, 28 EU countries, plus some, it's exactly 5 other countries which are not members of the European Union, but they are still treated equally as if they are the EU country, because they are all program countries with absolutely the same rights as all other EU countries. And these are Iceland, Liechtenstein, Norway, former Yugoslav Republic of Macedonia, and Turkey. Partner countries are considered all other countries in the world, and one of them is, of course, Bosnia and Herzegovina. What is offered within this new program for higher education? Well, you can see these 5 key components. And one of them is credit mobility. I will explain in my next slide what is each of these, what are each of these, but just for you to know that these are activities available for higher education. Let me now explain one by one. Credit mobility first. Credit mobility is basically, these are short-term mobilities abroad that count to at the return back home. If you know Erasmus Mundus, and you will probably remember international opening of Erasmus, which provided similar activities. But what it does, it plans to offer over 135,000 scholarships for mobility within partner with partner countries in a 7-year period. It is also important, it provides opportunity for mobility within all cycles, bachelor, master's, doctoral, all cycles, even short cycles. And it's open for all disciplines. It's not limited to one or a few disciplines, but all disciplines, it's equally open. How does it work? Well, let me just explain how does it work. First of all, this particular activity is managed directly by national agencies located in one of the program countries that I mentioned in my previous slide. So, EU countries plus 5 of non-EU countries like Turkey, for instance, or Macedonia. So it means that the national agencies in all of these program countries will apply and they will get money from Brussels directly. Then they will use this money to finance institutions in their country who apply to them. So, for instance, higher education institutions from Turkey will apply to the national agency in Turkey to get funds. Once they get it, they will use the funds to finance mobilities with the partner institutions they have inter-partnership agreements signed there. So this is a decentralized action managed by national agencies. That's the first point. But you will see that in my later slides that some activities are managed directly by Brussels and some by national agencies. And this particular activity is managed by national agencies. You probably heard, some of you, about individual higher education institutions inter-partnership agreements. This is a prerequisite for higher education institutions to take part in this action. So if you get approached by, if you are asked by higher education institutions in program countries to sign a partnership agreement, then it means that they are inviting you to be a part of the consortium. For students, well, let me first say what it offers. This component offers opportunity for students at all levels, in all disciplines, to go abroad for a short period of time, between 3 months and 1 year, for the purpose of studying. It also provides opportunity for students to go abroad for training, for practical placement in companies, for a maximum period of 12 months and minimum 2 months. So basically, students can go abroad either to study or to get practical experience in company, placement in company. And then, when they get back home, all the credits they acquire will need to be recognized by the home institutions. That's a very important component. This action also provides opportunities for staff, not only for students. For staff can go abroad within this either for the purpose of teaching or for the purpose of training. So they can, professors from International University of Sarajevo, for instance, can go abroad in this component, and then the program will pay for the cost to hold lectures abroad or to take part in some training opportunities, but excluding conferences. Conferences are not part of that. And for staff, the duration of the period is minimum 5 days, maximum 2 months. Then, as you can see here, from 2016 partner countries, the traineeships will be open. So for the year 2015, traineeships opportunities will not be open, but studying, yes, but traineeships, no. How to apply? I already mentioned interinstitutional mobility agreements between program and partner countries will be selected in 2015. Call has already been launched. The call has been launched. The deadline for this application is March 4th, 2015. So only program countries can apply to their national agencies. So meaning that institutions from Bosnia and Herzegovina, higher education institutions, cannot apply directly, but they can only be part of the consortia from the program country who can apply on their behalf. partner countries, as you can, they are encouraged, but your institution are very much encouraged to develop relationships with higher education institutions from all program countries that you wish to work with in order to be invited to the consortium. I hope you got the main point about the credit mobility. In short, let me just summarize. In short, credit mobility relates to the short-term mobilities between 3 months and 1 year for the purpose of studying, or between 2 months and 12 months for the purpose of training, placements in companies for students. And for staff, between 5 years and 2 months for the purpose of teaching abroad or being trained abroad. Okay, let me now explain another component, which is another activity which is also part of Key Action 1, which I mentioned at the beginning. And the Key Action 1 is all deals with mobility. It's called Joint Master Degree. Okay, first of all, this is a continuation of Erasmus Mundus course. You will remember that Erasmus Mundus Key Action 1 had 2 strands. One was dealing with joint Erasmus Mundus master courses, and the other one with joint Erasmus Mundus doctoral courses. Doctoral courses, study programs, have been moved to another program called Horizon 2020, which is a research-based program, while master level study programs have been kept within this Erasmus Plus program. So now a proposal can come to set up a consortia of institutions who will develop Erasmus Mundus excellent courses, and these are privileged courses and well-recognized courses to be offered by the consortia are mixed. Some higher education institutions have to be from the program countries, and also some of them partner countries can also take part. This is different from what was mentioned before, because this is only applicable to the master's level courses, not for other cycles, not for bachelor, not for doctoral. It's planned about 50 approximately per year master courses to be selected for each year. In total, 350 courses in total, and funds are expected to fund 25 1,000 students and staff over the 7-year period. If you think about these master courses, these are, I won't call them privileged courses, but excellent courses which will be designed to really attract the best students. Why? Because they will be fully integrated and fully recognized in the countries where they originate from. It will require studying in at least 2 program countries representing a consortium. And if you think of this, you will have 5, 6 or more countries in the consortia, depending on the consortia structure. But then students who get involved in this program, they will get full scholarships, but then they will have to study abroad, outside of their country of origin, in at least 2 different higher education institutions in different countries, which are part of the consortium. In terms of length of time, the study program will be either for 1 year, 1.5, or 2 years, offering 60, 90, or 120 credits in total. It should lead to the award of a double, multiple joint degree to successful students. The ultimate goal is to award joint degree. Joint degree is just one piece of paper signed by directors of the participating institutions in the consortium. While multiple degree or joint degrees are different degrees issued by the participation institutions separately. But because of its highly integrational aspect, the ultimate aim is to have joint degrees, but for the time being, multiple degrees will be awarded. It also awards full study scholarship for students from all over the world. And then I will now, next slide, I will show you the amounts which students could expect, which probably most of you are interested in. But let me first say how it's structured. So in the consortia, there has to be at least involved 3 higher education institutions from different program countries. Let's say one from Turkey, one from Macedonia, one from Germany, for instance. All of these are considered program countries, and one higher education institution from each must be part of the consortium. In addition, higher education institutions from partner countries like Bosnia and Herzegovina can take part, but I should demonstrate the value added. And to be honest, if your institution is invited to join the partnership in this joint master degree courses, you should consider it as a very good, big privilege. It's an exceptional club. And then if you are invited, it means that you are really respected. Because it's not going to be easy to get involved into this. Funding. Funding, the consortia will apply for project. They will apply directly to Brussels because this is a centrally managed action, meaning that the project proposal will need to be submitted directly to the Executive Agency of the European Commission to Brussels. They will do the assessment, and then those projects that are successful, they will be financed directly from Brussels, not through the national agencies but directly. And then what can the consortia expect to be financed? Total cost of student scholarships. You will see how much students should expect to get and for what. It will also provide an annual flat rate fee for management of the consortia, including guest academic lectures. Four lecturers need to be invited at least for at least a certain number of teaching hours. So this is also part. But the majority of funds will go for providing scholarships for students. And only a small part of it will be allocated to managing the consortia and developing actually the master courses, the studies. So, so quality review was planned, but it's not sure if it will be anymore. I think very recently they changed the last, so you can forget the last bullet point because it has been just in the last 10 days discussed, so may not be provided. This is what are the amounts of scholarship. So, you see the students from partner countries like Bosnia, and these are students from program countries like Alaga. So in total, students from Bosnia and Herzegovina can expect to get up to maximum 25,000 euros per 1 year. So as you can see that the contribution is planned to cover participation costs up to 9,000 euros, but also travel costs for students. And then the amount of the travel cost will depend on distance from the coordinating institution. Either 3,000 or 2,000 depending on the distance. There is also an installation, a fixed cost contribution to installation costs. This is just the beginning, 1,000, and also monthly allowance of 1,000 euro per month. This should be enough to cover all the costs incurred by students, and it will all depend also how long the study will last. If it lasts more than, if the master course is for 1 year, you get, of course, total amount less. If it's 2 years, you get more, etc. But you can see that the program countries are entitled, students from program countries are entitled to receive contributions for participation cost, which is basically 50% of the amount allocated for partner country students, and also they can get a fixed amount for travel cost and also for living allowance, which is in the same amount as for other students. How to apply? Annual calls for proposals are issued by the European Union, and to tell you that the annual call has just been about 20 days ago or 1 month ago, at latest, I'm not sure the date, but the call has been published. The deadline for application for this is March 4th, 2015. And then, if your institution is invited to participate in this, because institutions from Bosnia and Herzegovina cannot apply directly, but we can be partners in this. And if your institution is invited, and if your institution accepts to be part of the consortia, then the applying institution from the program country will involve you in the consortia, and then if they will apply, if they get the project, then you will start implementing it. So more or less, I explained until now the two actions within the same component one related to mobility, including credit mobility and degree mobility. What I forgot to mention about credit mobility at the beginning. Okay, if you have a student, for instance, at the bachelor level, and you want to go abroad for a certain period of time, no less than 3 months, no more than 12 months, then there are certain selection criteria, of course. For instance, one of the requirements is that you have to be involved in at least the second year of the study in order to be eligible to go abroad. And also, what is also important to know that you can have mobility within each cycle up to this 1 year. For instance, if you use the opportunity and go abroad up to 1 year within the bachelor cycle, that does not prevent you to also use the opportunity to study up to 1 year at the master's level, or later at the doctoral level. So, at each of the cycles is 1 year. But once you use it, you cannot study longer within the same cycle. So that's clear. Capacity building. Capacity building is an opportunity this is part of key action 2, cooperation. Cooperation between higher education institutions. And then here you have lots of opportunities. Most of the opportunities are for higher education institutions, but there are also opportunities for individual mobilities, for students, and for staff as well. And I will explain how it works. Okay, you see here some of the capacity, some of the activities that could be proposed, and some of the aims. Support modernization of our internationalization. Basically, the aim of the capacity building is to build the capacity of higher education institutions, through networks and cooperation with the EU and other program countries, to build the capacity to modernize its structures, either to modernize curricula, study programs, or to modernize institutions itself. For instance, new governance structures, connecting universities with the higher education, with the companies, with the research institutes, with the society at large. They should also aim at improving level of competencies and skills, enhance management, governance of higher education institutions, promote people-to-people contacts, intercultural understanding. And the last point also is very important, voluntary convergence in the EU policy developments. Nobody will force you to converge to voluntary, but it's a voluntary process. If any institution wants to align its policy with the EU developments, they can do so within this program. How it's structured. You know campus. I think some of you have already had experience. You know. You also see Alpha for Africa, but some other like Asia League, etc. So all these are now these are former program before 2014. The new program is, these are just all incorporated into the capacity building compliance. What kind of projects can you develop within this action? Basically, two types of projects. Either joint project or structural management. The main difference between the two is the level of implementation. joint projects are aimed to have impact mainly at the level of institutions involved, at an institutional level. While structural leisure projects are aimed to help, promote, support changes at the level of the higher education systems. So these are usually projects aimed to either establish some new institutions or increase the capacity of existing institutions or modernize management structures, etc., or introduce quality assurance at the level of a national system. So, again, here's the main difference between the actions that I explained before and this one. Capacity building projects are not open for all countries of the world. They are open for certain regions. And from our perspective, I'm glad to say that Bosnia and Herzegovina is part of Region 1, which is the Western Balkan region, and this is open for the Western Balkan region. But it's also open for the Eastern Europe, Russia, Asia, and Central Asia, Latin America, Africa, Caribbean, and Pacific. So these are all the regions which can take part in this particular action. But within these regions, I think there are 8 regions in total here. We have also privileged. The Western Balkan is a privileged region in the sense that we can take part not only in capacity building projects, but also you can also participate in something called so-called special mobility grants. These are special opportunities for only 3 regions: the Western Balkans, South Mediterranean, and Eastern Europe. And this special component provides opportunities for students and staff in a similar fashion as the mobility is open under the Kjarsson and the Spain's agreement. So students and staff here now also get the opportunity within this action to go abroad for the purpose of studying or for the purpose of getting practical experience in companies. Staff can also take part to go in a similar fashion, to go abroad to teach or to be trained. And staff from companies can also go abroad and teach, which is all, and the length of the time is very similar, up to 12 months for studying, and for staff up to between 5 days and 2 months. If your institution wants to get into this component, you can think that either develop a project proposal for lasting for 2 or 3 years. It's up to you to decide. You should know that this is also a centralized action managed by Brussels directly. And you should also, one of the very important component is that institutions from Bosnia and Herzegovina, higher education institutions, can act either as a partner, but also as an applicant, which is very important. So if the International University of Sarajevo or any other university from Bosnia and Herzegovina decides to be an applicant in the capacity building project, you can do so. But you can't do so under the degree mobility or joint master degrees that we distinguished before. So this is a great opportunity if you think of developing proposals and applying directly, not waiting for someone else to apply, but you take the lead if you wish to. You can also be partner. But there are also some limits in terms of number of requirements. I'll just tell you that this action is also managed by annual calls proposal. The call for the capacity building was published last month, and the deadline for application is February 10th. So February 10, 2015 is the deadline for your institution to apply. But I encourage you to start as soon as possible. If you are a higher education institution and if you wish to apply, please start preparations immediately, because you will see there are lots of work to be done, and then you should immediately start now. And then you will apply directly to the executive agency in Brussels. But before you apply, you will see a number of issues that you should check. For instance, there are certain requirements. How many parties you need to involve in the consortium? You will also see that there are national priorities and regional priorities. So your project proposal has to be in line with national priorities for each of the countries, partner countries involved, or regional priorities if you involve different regions. So they're all listed there, and then you have to comply, otherwise your proposal will be considered ineligible regardless of the quota. So there will be also the requirements in terms of number of partners. You will see, like I have one separate presentation which I can present just briefly, explain the structure of partnerships. How many partners from the program country side you need to involve, how many from the partner country side you need to involve, what are the other requirements, conditions, and what are the criteria. So for those of you who are interested in writing a proposal, then you should definitely read all the details in Spring Guidelines, but I can also present main summaries today. Okay, the next activity which is open for higher education, institutions and individuals, is something called an action called Jean Monnet. Jean Monnet action is activities are they focus mainly on the EU studies, exclusively on the EU studies, to promote excellence in teaching and research, all the European integration in various disciplines. The main objective is to equip students and young professionals with knowledge on the EU subjects. The other objective is to stimulate teaching and research on the European Union, or first a dialogue between the European Union and the world in higher education. You can see all this, all activities related to Jean Monnet must be directly related to the European Union integration studies. How it works? Well, unlike many other activities, where you have to form a consortia of partners, Jean Monnet activities are not necessary. You don't have to have a consortium. You can have so, if you wish so, but you can also, your institution can apply directly. No need to form a partnership. International University of Sarajevo can decide to apply for a Jean Monnet grant directly, and be the only partner in that. You can also decide to involve some other institutions. Well, the grant can be allocated either for the purpose of supporting teaching and research, but usually you should start thinking about modules and then move to the next level, chairs or centers of excellence. You could also think of proposing policy debates with academics, networks, and projects, and support activities in institutional sessions. But last week I had a colleague from the executive agency of Brussels who was visited Bosnia and Herzegovina, and he's one of the experts who was involved for many years in Jean Monnet, and he's an expert in that field. I have another two persons who are experts in Jean Monnet from Brussels directly, and if your institution decide to get seriously involved in these Jean Monnet activities, which are highly encouraged if you wish so, please let me know, and then I will put you in touch directly with those professionals who are experts in this field. So they can help you how to, like, for the beginning, you should start about thinking, developing the modules. That's the first level. And if you don't have experts, then you will have to invite Jean Monnet experts from abroad, like from Croatia or from Slovenia or from other countries, that you have expertise, and then you build from there. You start from there and you move to the next step. But I'll put you in touch with them. They are very knowledgeable about that, and they can help you definitely. And just last week they mentioned they look forward to the applications for those, because until now there has been no institution from Bosnia and Herzegovina, no project from Bosnia and Herzegovina under Jean Monnet. There are some applications submitted, but none of them was approved. Okay, I won't spend too much time on this because annual calls are published, and then again, this is part of the annual call that has already been published. Only one applicant institution, but informal voluntary participation can be possible. And the proposal assessed by expert based on relevance, design, and quality. And these are not just any experts. These are Jean Monnet experts. And Jean Monnet is a club. It's a privileged club. If you manage to get involved in this club, you will have lots of benefits, privileges. So all universities would think about their label. Jean Monnet is the best label. If you got it, you really have lots of privileges. Just to let you know, here's the link, and you apply directly. It's not a difficult process, but it's simply you go directly, submit. So International University of Sarajevo can decide, check the link. If you're interested, think of it. If you need expertise, I will get you in touch with, and then you apply directly. And hopefully it will be successful. Policy support, I will not talk about this too much, but we have something called Network of Higher Education from Experts. The European Commission often organizes events, studies, peer learning, international events. For instance, there's been within the Western Balkan platform annual meeting of the ministers from the Western Balkans taking place annually, and then also events taking place once or twice per year. The latest one was in Belgrade, before it was in Athens, but then in Skopje and Croatia. So there are a series of the events organized directly by the European Commission with the aim to support and initiate and support policy dialogue. More information about the Erasmus Plus program you will find at this link. Information on Erasmus Plus funding opportunities you will find also at this link. But I encourage you to open the main document, which is this one. It's called Erasmus Plus Program Guide. This is a document having over 350 pages. It's a big document, long, but it is necessary to read because this is the key document about the Erasmus Plus program. It provides all the details about all actions. And I cannot explain all the details. It will take me for a couple of days. But you will have, if you want to really get serious about Erasmus Plus, you will need to read this guide. The guide is available at any of these links. It's also available on our webpage, www.erasmusgrid.com. The latest version of it was updated last week on November 14, and then it might be updated again, because there are always some issues that are being updated. So the latest version, the one that I have, was updated in October, so it's not the latest one. The latest one was the last week. But I encourage you to really read it, and then you will have well, this is not all. The Erasmus Plus program is a complex one, as I explained at the beginning, providing lots and lots of opportunities. And these are just a small part of it. And then other opportunities open for higher education are something called strategic partnerships. Well, as you can see here, it says partner countries able to take part only if added value. So I don't want to discourage you, but I want to say that the strategic partnership and all the alliances, which I'll explain later, are meant mainly for the not EU, but for the program. But the program countries are basically the EU countries plus 5 million countries. It's meant mainly for them. It's meant to help and support forming cooperation and partnerships between institutions within the Europe and program countries. It's not the main purpose of supporting cooperation between the EU and partner countries of Bosnia, but it is also allowed. Meaning, the institutions in Bosnia can take part, we can participate if we are invited, but to get in, it's not necessary. I tell you, don't expect too much, because your institution has to prove value added. Because the project will be assessed, among other things, on the quality of the research. So I mean, normally, consortia are very different from program function. But in exceptional cases, if you can demonstrate that your institution will bring some real values, then you can get involved with that. But what it is about, we can either support curricular development, new curricula, programs, develop project-based cooperation with enterprises, learning techniques and methodologies, or integrate various study modules, at least in Sparta, etc. Then again, as you can see, it's decentralized up to managed by national agencies in each of the program countries. So you can only take part as part. Knowledge alliances is another opportunity which is similar to what I explained before, but there is also some difference. This is, unlike the strategic partnerships that I explained previously, this is a centrally managed action, so applications will need to be submitted directly to Brussels, directly to the agency. But again, institutions in Bosnia can take part as partners, but only if they demonstrate additional value added. So again, don't expect too much here, but what is aimed under this action is to promote and support cooperation between higher education institutions and primary companies, but also other institutions such as research institutes and other. But businesses on one hand and universities on the other hand, these are the main aims. And if you read the details, you will see this, the partnership has at least 6 partners from a certain number of countries, and of these 6, 2 minimum have to be higher education institutions and 2 minimum companies. So these are basically promoting links between companies and corporations, between companies and higher education institutions. But if invited, you will be privileged and please accept it. I will skip you because our office is not in charge of promoting this, but these are just some opportunities for you as well. Some of you might think of what happened to the local programs available on Erasmus Plus. They are not dead, they are still alive, but they are simply now repackaged. They are not, they are simply part of the new program Horizon 2020 under the Maria Skłodowska reaction. This is the form is mainly the same, but if you think about doctoral studies, you should find it at this link here. So you can see the details and everything else. And also some of you will think, okay, what happened with the joint Erasmus Mundus courses, which were developed in the previous years, for the last 20 years. Some of them are alive, actually over 160 something, maybe 150, I'm not sure the exact number. They are still alive, they are open. And what I forgot to say, because I see lots of students here still. Well, for students, there are lots of opportunities that you can do. Please visit this link at the bottom of the page. There you will find all Erasmus Mundus master courses already offered. Already they ask for students to apply. In order for you to apply, it's not linked to where you study. You don't have to be involved in any of the institutions. You apply directly. It doesn't matter if Bosnia and Herzegovina or your institution is involved in the consortium. It doesn't need an end. It's open for all students from all over the world. You visit the program you like, you see the criteria, and if you comply with the criteria, if you think that you are qualified, you can apply directly. If you get accepted, then you will get in. And then all your costs will be financed. So you have already Erasmus Mundus courses. They will continue for a couple of years more. At the same time, we will have new courses every year under the joint master degree actions that I explained before. So you will have a continuous opportunity here. So visit this, check it regularly, and also I encourage your institution to also share this link with all potential students. So encourage them to really apply as much as they want. This is all. I have detailed presentations. and then believe me, even though it may look complicated, these are just summary presentations of the 5 most important activities within the Erasmus Plus program open for higher education institutions, staff and students. But again, I ask you now, if you wish, I can go and present each of these actions in detail. So I have all of these detailed presentations for credibility, joint master degree, capacity building, and journaling. If you want, I can do so. I have detailed presentation. The detailed presentations are also available at our website, www.erasmusb.com. You can check them, you can see them. I ask you whatever you wish. I can continue presenting some or all of these detailed presentations, or simply taking your questions. It's up to you. Taking questions.
There's classes in Greece.
Okay, so then we go for questions. Thank you.
Please raise your hand for those who would like to ask a question. Would you raise the button?
Hi, my name is Elma, and I'm one of the instructors at Birch University at Chile. Thank you for the really informative talk, and I take the opportunity to also say that Professor Dami Mariano said hello.
Please give my regards to him.
Thank you, will do. I have a couple of questions. One is regarding the joint master's degree. Can you mention quickly a couple of points? So the one paper that's given as a diploma versus multiple diplomas, when you're looking to apply, is it better to apply having designed a program that ends up with a program or
Okay. Well, I think it would be better. I mean, it is ultimately the decision of the consortium. The consortia who gets the project will decide whether they will issue a joint diploma, a joint degree, or a multiple degree. It's a decision that they have to decide. And then, while making that decision, they will have to take into account the local regulations in each of the participating countries. So they want to make sure that issuing a joint diploma and recognizing joint diploma, if issued by the consortia, is possible within the legal environment of each of the supporting countries. Because in some countries, the practice shows that there's still some countries' legislation doesn't allow it, while others allow it. So it depends on what countries are involved, what institutions. The ultimate goal is to aim at issuing a joint degree, because if joint degree is issued, so then that joint degree will have to be recognized in all of the consortia country institutions. On the other hand, if it's a multiple degree, or double, or the multiple degree, meaning issued by at least 2 participating institutions, then it also has to be recognized in the countries of where the degree is issued, for instance in Germany or Turkey. But at the same time, it may not be recognized in other countries that are part of the consortia, but they are not issuing the degree. So the ultimate aim would be, it was clearly indicated in the guidelines, to aim for a joint degree. But for the time being, all options will be open, and always, if asked, the consortia will be advised to aim towards joint degree.
So thank you very much for this clear and informative presentation also. My name is Erasmus Structure, doctor in industrial engineering and also the director of research and development center at IUS. Looking back to the whole presentation, what I could say, the essential point is the quality of the consortium. I mean, how to build it, and also what countries and especially what institutions are involved. So at this point, can you just make it more clear, what criteria are concerned by checking, the quality of the consortium in terms of teaching, in terms of research, in terms of capability of the institutions?
Okay, thank you for the question. Okay, again, regarding the award criteria, I have a presentation on that, but I will briefly go because first of all, there's relevance of the project. The maximum 30 points for this. Out of 100, 30 points go for the relevance of the project. Then quality of the product design and implementation. But first of all, let me distinguish between different actions. So all actions have similar criteria, but allocating points are not structured the same. And let me just see, because what are the criteria for each of these? This is first for the criteria for okay. Mobility of project. Okay, here you got relevance 30 points. Quality of consortium, composition and cooperation arrangement, maximum 20 points. Quality of consortia, activity design and implementation, maximum 20 points. Impact and dissemination, maximum 30 points. And then each of these are explained. For instance, in the guide, as you can see here, they're all detailed explanations. And there's also a requirement, for instance, I don't know by heart now because it's different from each of the components, but in general, out of 100 points, you will get, let's say, 30, 20 points for each of these 5 blocks. And then, let's say, for joint degree mobility, you will need to get, for instance, at least 60 or 70, I don't remember exactly, 70 points in total. And also, out of that, you need to get for the 2 components, especially for relevance, minimum 50%. Meaning that even though if you satisfy 70 points in total, if you don't get minimum 50 for the relevance, all of the overall. So, I don't know if I explained to you, but it's clearly explained in the guidelines, but more or less, there are criteria set and explained, and the points allocated. And you'll just need to check what are the details. But again, now I'm looking for so you see, the capacity building allocation of points is not exactly the same for capacity building as for joint master degree or for degree mobility, but it's very similar. Maybe somewhere you get total 60, in other points 70, but more or less it's the same. And then how it works, there are various processes. First, eligibility check, and then relevant, then academic check, or however you call it, expert check. First, for instance, at the first point, they check whether the application fulfills all requirements in terms of the application. If it has all attachment, if it's been filled correctly, if all criteria are met in terms of the partnership requirement. Do you have enough partners from the program countries? Do you have enough partners from the program countries, etc. And then they also check if the topic selected is in line with national or regional priorities for each of the chosen countries. And then certain other, whether you have all formal documents, attached, etc. And if you don't fulfill any of these, then it's not assessed any longer. Only for those that meet all the eligibility criteria, then you move to the next point, being assessed in terms of relevance, quality, impact, which I mentioned. And then at that point, for the capacity building, for instance, component, they will be shortlisted, and then the shortlist applications will be sent to the delegation ministers in our office, and we will provide our feedback, and we will say, look, we think that and that, and then they will be again sent to Brussels, and then the inter-sectorial committee will be formed, commissioned, to make a final decision. So it's a long process involving various steps and various actors, but it's basically they will look for operational capacity of the institution, especially the applying institution. They will also look for financial capacity, for experience, for commitment, for relevance of the project idea, compliance, local needs, lots of issues. So there's no straight answer question to your question, but more or less, if you want, I can open one of my presentations, and then there you might find some details, for instance. But again, perhaps we can...
Maybe more detailed kind of information could be selected from the link.
Yes?
Do we have one more question?
Okay, go ahead.
Which one? Please go ahead.
Sorry, and thank you for your time. I'm senior assistant here, and students often ask me how to apply, where to apply. Applications are complicated, they don't know actually find. Is there any office, invitation office?
Okay, I'll tell you immediately. Okay, yes, that's a good question. If you're approached by students and asked this question, the answer should be this. If students are interested in joint master degrees or Erasmus Mundus courses, they should simply be told to check directly the link that I had in my slide and check the requirements and apply directly. They don't need any help. The criteria are set there. I mean, it's decided by the consortium. The consortium decides what are the criteria. Nobody can change it. Nobody can help them in that sense. But, I mean, international relations officers at universities can guide them just to that particular link. But again, each student should check the criteria and submit all the necessary documents and apply directly. But if you are asked about degree mobility, meaning up to the 12 months that I mentioned today, then you should tell them, I mean, these are mobilities that can be realized within the institutions which are part of the interinstitutional agreement. So, if you are a student, for instance, and if you want to know how you can go abroad for up to 1 year, then you should tell them, okay, students should visit International Relations Office of your institution, and then check with your International Relations Office which partnership agreements you have with which institutions. Because, for instance, International University of Sarajevo might have interinstitutional agreement with 5, 10 different institutions abroad. And then you as a student can only move from your institution where you are studying, where you are registered, to the institution where your institution where you are studying has partnership agreement with. First, you tell them to go to International Relations Office. The International Office will tell them what are the potential mobilities, and then they choose what is interesting for them. Because, for instance, if they are studying political sciences, and then if your institution, International University of Sarajevo, has an agreement with, let's say, a partner institution in Germany in the field of political sciences at bachelor level, then you can go to that particular institution at that particular discipline. So it depends. You cannot move to different disciplines. So you are basically allowed to move only within the partnership agreement with the consortium. So what are the reference points? Our office will help and teach. We are told in Brussels to train and teach and help staff of international relations offices from all universities in Bosnia to help students. We will direct them, but we will not provide direct consultations to the students because we don't have the capacity to do so. We will simply help international relations offices, and then international relations offices will in turn help students, individuals, because they are the best positioned to know. Because I don't know, from my office, I don't know what agreements your university has with so you know better than I. So you just tell the students, okay, we have agreements with this and that institution in this and that discipline. So then they are basically clear. And also don't remember, because under capacity building, if you get in the future one of the project in capacity building, you will also have the opportunity to move students and staff. But again, the movement will be limited only for the subject of the project idea. So if you, for instance, project is aimed to reform curricula in electrical engineering, then you could, for instance, and then if university in Germany and Turkey are involved, two particular universities will know, then you can only move students and staff within that discipline, engineering discipline, up to maximum 1 year, and within these partner institutions, not with other institutions. I think I don't know if I answered your question, but
I think,
sorry.
yeah. Thank you very much for your participation, Ms. Muhibic. I believe because of the time we won't have, well, we won't have enough time to kind of concisely or go over all the parts of the Erasmus program, but maybe we should call for another lecture next time.
Thank you so much.
An info session or something. Thank you very much for being here. I'm very proud.
Thank you for inviting me again. I really appreciate, and I will, as I told Vector today, the whole next week I will be in Turkey. I will visit Turkish National Agency in Ankara and also participate in the international Erasmus Plus in Turkey, in Konya, and there I will meet representatives of 150 Turkish universities from a total of 450 participants, and I will make sure that I mention cooperation with the universities from Bosnia-Herzegovina, including your universities, virtually other universities from Bosnia-Herzegovina. So I already mentioned that I've already established contacts, and also with AMIA, with the Turkish contact point in their national agency. So I'm looking forward to really promote that cooperation. And also, if you wish to get in touch with any other contact point from any of the country, program countries from the European Union or any other program countries, please contact me and I will put you in touch. So if you look for partners, if you look for any contacts, please let me know and I will put you in touch. Thank you again for your
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.